Hey, Kate, what did you eat last night?
Oh my goodness, I had the best evening. I had dinner with my friend Cheryl. It was my friend Cheryl's birthday, and so I made her dinner out on my back deck. And this was exciting because it's the first time I have cooked for anybody since you were here in early March of this year. So it's been like 4.5 months, and cooking for people is my number one joy. And
you just haven't had time to cook for people? Is that it?
Right.
Nothing else going on.
I've been so busy. So, exactly. So when I have shared food with people, it's been sort of like, I don't know, nobody's cooked, whatever. It felt like you bring things in baggies and you distribute, and it's been weird. So this time there was a commitment, and so I have, we're 6 feet apart. Well, actually probably 10 feet apart on my deck, and my guest is able to sit way at the back by the herbs. So when I come in and out of the house, there's not there. So it's as safe as it's possible to be, I think. So since we had to eat outside because I'm not comfortable being inside with people at this point, and it's summer, so it's hot, I decided to just commit and decide we were having a southern meal.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, totally. So we started with mint juleps and pimento cheese toasts.
Oh.
And I have to say, that course was the best of the courses.
Well, why go any farther, really?
Oh, my goodness. So I grow fresh mint, and so I muddle the mint with some sugar and then bourbon, and then I do a variation on the julep. It's not correct because I don't have crushed ice, but whatever. So it's like bourbon muddled with mint and sugar and then ice and seltzer. And it is delicious. And then the pimento cheese, Rick, I just haven't had anything as surprisingly good as this particular recipe in a very long time, because it's one of those things that is way better than the sum of the parts. It's way better than it has any business being. Way better. So this particular thing, it was a combination of a recipe plus other people's comments plus my own judgment. So all it was really good cheddar cheese, mayonnaise, which I'll come back to, roasted red peppers in a jar that you rinse and dry, which I got from Trader Joe's, little scallion, little Worcester, cayenne, salt and pepper, and that is it. So Southerners will tell you that the only mayonnaise to use is Duke's mayonnaise, and I've never tried it. Have you?
No, I've only heard of it. And the only reason I hear of it is because I just got a new Hulu account, and that's one of the prime advertisers on Hulu, and I hear it every episode because I have yet to pay the Hulu the amount that allows me to go commercial free.
Yeah, so you know about Duke's. And I know about it just from people, Southerners and recipes, talking about how, well, it has to be Duke's. And so there's a real, regional preference. And so this recipe, because it's pimento cheese, it's Southern, they're like, well, of course you should use Duke's. And I really had no intention of using Duke's mayonnaise, because whatever, it's mayonnaise. Who could tell? And I know there's people out here going, you would know. So as it happened, I needed mayonnaise, and I'm a Hellmann's girl. I prefer Hellmann's regular, but I buy Hellmann's light for obvious reasons. But the fat-free is bullshit, so I don't even mess around with that. But the light I can tolerate, although it has a tangy flavor I don't like, but whatever. So I needed mayonnaise, so I go to the mayonnaise aisle, and in the grocery store, my Jewel, and I was like, we don't even have Duke's mayonnaise here. It's Chicago. We're not the South. And I go to a local grocery store. It's a very small grocery store, my local Jewel. Jewel is our chain, and my Jewel, quote unquote, happens to be a small one that's close to me. So I'm like, they're not going to have anything like that. So I go to the mayonnaise aisle, which is fully stocked, except for this one little area of the shelf that's completely empty for reasons I don't understand, like a 2-foot wide swath in the middle of the mayonnaise section, and in the middle of this empty piece of the shelf is one container of Duke's mayonnaise.
Sweet.
It was as though I heard oh, and a special shone on it, a spotlight shone on it. So, and it was on sale for half the price of my Hellmann's.
Wow.
So plainly it was a sign, and I took it home. And I will tell you what, I don't know what they do, but it's better. I think there might be more egg, and it's creamier. It's richer. It doesn't have... It's really, really good.
That's amazing. All right, good to know. I've always wanted to try it now, obviously, because I see the ads. Good to know.
Yeah, I have to say. So in this recipe, I put it on little pieces of baguette and put it under the broiler and melted it. And it was so good. I just can't even. It was so good. So anyway, that. And then for the entree, I had made a red beans and rice, which we will be talking about in an upcoming episode. So I won't go into it much here, but it was delicious. And I made a beautiful collard green dish, which had some bacon in it for richness, garlic, chili flake, the same thing I put whenever I do, and stock, the same thing I do when I do any greens. But instead of putting a little vinegar at the end, which is what I normally do with greens, this one had lemon. So it,
interesting.
Yeah, so it actually had lemon zest in the braising liquid along with the garlic and red pepper flakes and bacon fat. And then at the end, instead of vinegar, you put lemon juice to brighten it. And it was super light and bright and a really nice balance to the rich heaviness of the real strong Cajun red beans and rice. And then for dessert, I got a frozen key lime pie from Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's comes through.
Yeah, because Ina Garten's the first to say, you don't make everything, for God's sakes. You know, she would say, like, buy shit for your antipasto plate, for your appetizers. Feel free to buy dessert, you know. So anyway, so key lime pie and espresso, because I know Cheryl loves espresso. So it was a really, really glorious birthday dinner. Oh, and we had a dry Riesling with the entree, which isn't ideal. It's not a Southern wine or anything, but, you know, it's a teeny bit on the sweet side and the fruity side, which goes well with spicy things. And these were spicy dishes. And it was a white, so it was nice in the hot weather. So it was glorious. So I know that was a long story, and sorry about that, but it was really awesome meal.
It sounds really lovely. Did your guest appropriately appreciate your theme?
Oh, she did. And that was part of what was so awesome about it. Cheryl's a very appreciative dinner guest. And it all came together really, really quickly. It was a spontaneous invite the day before because it was the night before her birthday. And I thought, well, surely she has plans. And I just saw that the weather was going to be reasonable. And then as soon as she said yes, the menu just fell into place.
That sounds delightful, I have to say.
Thank you. It was fabulous.
Don't you love when a guest appreciates a theme?
Oh my God. I know. I only wished I had decorations or anything, but I'm not that girl. I don't do that. I don't do the, I have friends that do that, and I'm always so appreciative, and I just don't. For me, it's all in the food. But totally. Cheryl is one of those people that she just likes my cooking. I think she really genuinely likes it, and she loves food, and she loves good food, and she really has a good discernment of good food versus mediocre food, and yet doesn't like to cook. Which is interesting because most of my friends who really have the appreciation of food that she does like to cook, but she doesn't.
Interesting.
So, but she's a pleasure to cook for. And so I will often invite her over for freezer cleanouts when I've got little bits of a lot of things that need to get out of my freezer, but they're all tasty. She's the first one to be like, oh my gosh, yes. So she's a great guest, and the fact that it was her birthday just made it fun. And especially now, like, nobody's doing much for people's, birthdays are hard to celebrate right now, and so she was appreciative. So it was awesome.
Nice, yay!
Yeah, thank you. So what did you eat?
I had a lemon pavlova. Have you had one of these before?
I have not, but I have heard of it, and I know what it is, but I have never been graced with one.
And particularly a homemade one.
Oh my gosh.
And I had my first social distancing thing, which I did with my friend Melissa and her husband Jeff. We were out, and another friend Allie. We were out in their backyard. It's a meringue-based dessert, and she made it based off a recipe by Nigella Lawson because that's really her sort of favorite cook. And I have to say, like, I've heard about them, but I always thought they'd be super rich for me, so I've never drawn to one, never had one, much less like one that was made fresh for me. But it was really so amazing. So I Googled the recipe so I could talk about it a little bit more. So is you make the meringue, you cover that with corn flour, you throw in lemon zest, lemon juice, and you mix it up. Then you bake it, and then it seems super complicated because the oven has to be a certain degree, and then once you put it in, then you have to lower it really quickly, and then it bakes, and then you have to pull it out, and you have to make sure it doesn't cool too quickly because it'll crack, so you got to make sure the kitchen's not too cool. Like, it seems like pretty complicated.
I have never made a meringue, and I do understand that they're very specific in terms of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and during all this, I'm just loving Melissa because she's like, oh no, it was super easy.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you bake it, and then it's topped once I believe it cools, and then once that's done, you top it with lemon curd. And Nigella Lawson says you can use some type of pre-bought lemon curd, or you can make your own. And then you top the lemon curd with whipped cream. And then I think when I read about them, they sort of sometimes come with fruit on tops, but this one just had flaked brown almonds on top, and it was so delicious because you'd think it was really sort of sweet, right? Really, really rich. And I ate a lot of it that night, and then Melissa gave me some to take home. At the time, she's like, it'll probably last 2 days, maybe 3. That thing lasted a good 5 days. I dragged that dessert out for all those days. It was so tasty.
You didn't throw it out the window on your way home?
Kate DeVore. I can't believe you've outed me.
You have outed yourself about this on this podcast, but it was like about 5 years ago.
Oh, thank God. Yeah. I'm so tired of people pawning food off of me, particularly food that's maybe not very good. And the tendency for people to overcook, overbuy, and maybe it's not very good and then they just want to shove it in your hands and get you out the door. There are many times when people give me something that's, 1, I don't want to take anything home, and 2, it's not very tasty, and particularly if it's wrapped in a bag. I'll be going around an exit ramp and I have hurled that thing out the window because I'm so angry. Because I'm like, learn to cook for the amount of people that are coming over, and then don't force food on people. Don't be a food pusher. It drives me bananas.
Do not try this at home.
But let me
Wildlife may suffer.
I know, not my brightest moments, but desperate.
I wouldn't have said it if you hadn't already talked about it on here.
Yeah, totally.
Totally, but the pavlova was a different situation. Yeah, so yes, right, my understanding is it's fruit, cream, and meringue, basically, in some form. And it's often with berries instead of the lemon curd, although, oh my God, I love lemon curd so much. That sounds amazing.
I could not stop shoving it in, and I was completely surprised how much I liked it. Because, I don't do desserts a lot. They're not my sort of go-to thing, and I often don't have room for them by the time I'm done. With the meal,
meringue is so light.
And I always think it's one of those things I'll never be able to cook well. But, when I really sort of was reading this recipe and breaking it down, I thought, I really should try it. It is doable. It takes a lot of focus, let me tell you.
I have total faith in you.
Thank you.
There's something called Eton mess. Eton, Eton from the school. Eton mess, which I think is crumbled meringue and fruit and cream, perhaps.
Really?
Maybe there's something else in there, but I wonder if it came from a ruined pavlova. You know what I mean? I'm betting now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
nice.
That sounds amazing.
Thank you, Melissa. Welcome to another episode of You Won't Believe What I Ate Last Night. I'm Rick.
And I'm Kate.
And this is our ongoing conversation about food, health, weight management, and our endeavor to be and stay healthy in a really tasty world.
With love, kindness, and compassion to ourselves and others.
First off, thank you so much for listening, and for those of you that have been diligently rating and reviewing us, we really, really appreciate it. So if you haven't had a chance to do that, because we know you're super busy, by all means do that on your listening platform of choice. Let us know what you think. Give us some good stars. It really helps.
Yeah, that could be your action for the day. Go give stars and reviews to the podcast that you like, even if it's just this one, because it does help people
If we have
find
one
us.
Successful action a day nowadays, isn't that really what we all want?
Really, if I can just be like, I did one good thing, I feel good. Yeah. So thank you so much for your help.
And as always, follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and check out our website, youwon'tbelievewhatIate.com. And if you ever want to tell us what you ate, how you feel about it, let us know. You can just record that on a voice memo and send it right in to youwon'tbelievewhatIate@gmail.com.
Including if you listen to us talk about stuff and you're like, well, yeah, but it would be better if you did this, or I had a different version of that like this, or wow, I had a terrible version and it was like this.
Yeah.
Please just make a quick recording and send it to us. It would be fun for us to be able to share.
And you can be on our show.
Exactly.
Season 5 of You Won't Believe What I Ate Last Night is brought to you by Smart Building Technologies, a leading provider of green technology at home and in the workplace. Find out more about Smart Building Technologies at smartbuildingtech.com. That's smartbuildingtech.com. We are very excited about today's episode. We get very excited about hot topics. So hot. All right, Kate. So I'm going to start us off with this for my very own personal hot topic.
All right, I'm ready.
My health insurance carrier is Blue Cross. My insurance has this wellness program called Share Care. All good, right? Helping you live your best life. I get a call from Share Care, right?
A call?
You know what they want? Yeah, they called me because they wanted to enroll me in their weight management program.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So all this personal information, right, that's been submitted over the years, clearly they've seen a pattern, Kate. So at the time I was like, oh, okay, because, I took the call. I didn't know what it was, and then I'm in it. And then whatever, she wanted to enroll me right then and there. And I was like, no way, because you can only imagine the questions that are going to be asked of me over the phone. And this person sounded like 12 years old. And you know what? I'm not going to tell all my health issues to a 12-year-old. And also just admit, admit, what all my concerns are. And and they're like, you'll get your own private coach. I was like, really? My own private coach? And it's of no cost to me. I'm like, really? Will this coach start out by telling me that I should maybe, I don't know, exercise more and eat less?
Did you ask that of the 12-year-old?
No. Can you imagine? When I realized how long it was going to take to enroll, I was like, oh, no, I've got to go. Send me the email and I'll enroll on my own. But I did get the email, but I have not enrolled yet. But I was shocked, I tell you. When I enrolled, I did get to do a real age test. And they ask you all these questions. So my real age, I'm 52, I will be 53 this October. My real age came in at 49 and 11 months.
Good for you, good for you, good for you.
Yeah, and I didn't oversell myself on the real age test.
Very good. I believe that. That seems right.
So the other sort of personal hot topic I want to get to is you had given me, within the last year, this brand of bouillon cubes called, I think it's called Boo, B-O-U. Do you remember these that you gave me? And you wanted me to try them out, and you wanted me to get back to you. So these are Bull vegetarian cubes to use. And I realized I needed to use up the last couple before the expiration date, and then I realized I never got back to you about them. And I just wanted to let you know.
Thank you.
That I'm going to say they're about a B plus. They were pretty good.
All right. How do they compare to Better Than Bouillon?
I still like Better Than Bouillon because it just has more flavor, I think, because of all of the salt in it.
Did I give you those Why would I have given you those, given that we love Better Than Bouillon? Maybe I read that they were awesome. Maybe I read they were the best. That's probably what happened.
And you just handed them to me and said I should try them out. And get back to you on it.
Interesting. So and it was not, I've never tried them. So it must have been, I must have read something that said these are the best vegetable bouillon cubes, and therefore I gave them to you. There's no other reason that I would have given you that.
I think the Better Than Bouillon has more flavor. And also, this one dissolves a little bit oddly, like when you put it in the hot water and mix it up. There's just some stuff that never really dissolved. And then there was a layer that sort of floated to the top, which I never really understood. But it was fine. It was tasty.
It's a nice thing about Better
Than Bouillon.
Okay, never not use them, but you might as well just get Better Than Bouillon.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good to know. Thank you. I appreciate that. Because, the whole thing about cubes is you have to have boiling water for them to dissolve, and even then it's iffy. Whereas Better Than Bouillon is a paste, and you could just throw it into shit, and if there's any liquid in there, it will absorb, and you don't have to worry about flakes or chunks or.
Yes,
we really should be getting paid by Better Than Bouillon, because we talk about how much we love them all the time.
Yes, and we were on to them well before they started doing commercials on TV.
Oh God,
before they hit the market.
It's been years.
Yes.
Yeah. And I made my own vegetable bouillon recently, my own vegetable stock in the Instant Pot, and it was super easy. And I was a little bit like meh about it at first, but now I've been cooking my grains in it and the difference it makes. I'm going to keep saving my vegetable scraps and make vegetable stock and freeze it in 2-cup portions to cook my grains in, because it just makes it so much better.
All right, that's good. That's good. Nice. So these are sort of some of the breaking stories around sort of how these major companies are changing or relooking at the brands that are generally considered racist. Now, you and I talked about a couple, I think, off mic, and the biggest one I think everyone may know about is the Aunt Jemima brand.
Yes.
That they're looking to change their logo. I didn't realize that Aunt Jemima was owned by Pepsi Company. And the great thing is they're going to look into changing the brand because they understand that it could be racial stereotyping. Aunt Jemima was created in 1889. She was first brought to life by Nancy Green, a storyteller, cook, and missionary worker, and Green is said to have been born into slavery. They plan to evolve the brand and update the brand in a manner that is intended to be appropriate and respectful.
And the most interesting thing to me is that, if I'm not mistaken, Nancy Green is the first African-American millionaire.
Yes.
And
really?
That happened as a result of her work in cooking and her work in the culinary field and in branding things and in lending her name and expertise to things. So part of my challenge around this removal of Nancy Green is that she was a very important figure in African American history. So what I would prefer would be that they put a little blurb on the back talking about who Aunt Jemima is, who Nancy Green is, that she was the first African-American millionaire, and that this is how she did it. I thought that they changed Aunt Jemima once before and made her a little bit less racist looking.
I think that makes sense, because when I was researching this, I thought, oh, that picture does not look like what I knew growing up.
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit of an ambivalent situation, because on the one hand, clearly it's problematic and racist, and then on the other hand, I don't want to erase what's awesome about it.
Another brand, Froneri brand, is going to drop the Eskimo pie name. Did you hear about this one?
No.
Yeah, well, it's been around for 100 years.
But yeah, of course. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And another one is Mars. This is the big thing I loved about this research, is realizing who owns all these things. Mars is they're rebranding Uncle Ben's.
Gotcha.
Right? They're evaluating all possibilities. This is another one. Nestle is changing the image of 2 sweet candies distributed in Australia. One is called Redskins, and the other is called Chicos. And Saputo, which is another food company, is retiring the name of a brand of cheese that they distribute in Australia. You know, and I thought, do I say the word? Do I not say the word? But I'm not going to say the word because it's so offensive.
Great, don't say it.
It's just good to know that it's going away and that there's a global effect to all of this, which I really love.
Well, is the term a racial slur? Is the name, as far as you know? I'm not going to ask you to say it because I agree we shouldn't say it, but you agree that it's not just like, oh, you're being sensitive. It's really legitimately.
Yeah, do you know how maybe like the 70s or 60s came around and we thought it was okay to start referring to black people as colored, and we thought that was an advancement? This goes back so far. Mm-hmm. It's beyond what people would consider offensive. All right.
Well, all right then.
I thought this is interesting. Trader Joe's is to get rid of racist branding. The supermarket chain said that it was in the process of phasing out names, including Trader Ming's and Trader Jose, that have appeared on international food products.
I did see that. And you know what was interesting is, here we are, because here I am, a middle-aged white person. It hadn't occurred to me that those were offensive. It really hadn't. Totally. I'm like, oh, that's cute. It's the Chinese thing. They're calling it Trader Ming's because it's their Chinese food. Yeah. And I guess clearly I just, it's part of my learning that it is.
Mm-hmm. And this is part of us doing the work that we need to be doing right now.
Exactly. And especially Trader Jose's, because I'm like, oh my God, that's so cute. It's just that's how you say Joe in Spanish. And part of me is still like, do you gotta change that?
Yeah.
So plainly, again, there's things that I just don't get, because part of me is like, aw, I like Trader
Yeah,
Jose's
totally.
when I buy my Mexican stuff there.
Totally. Can someone make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But there we are. There's my racism and the things that I'm working on and learning. So there we are.
Totally. And I just think this is an important conversation for all of us to be in, right? Because it's important to understand who's doing the right work and to support them appropriately and to let them know if you get a chance that you support the work. Because it's all this feedback they're getting that's really going to make a change.
Totally. Well, I will start shopping at Trader Joe's weekly.
Well, are you sure you can commit to going to Trader Joe's that often, Kate?
Totally. Right.
I don't want to throw you out of your schedule too much.
As a frame of reference, when I'm moving about town, normally I go to Trader Joe's probably 3 times a week because I pass it to and from everywhere. And even now, I guess I sometimes go 2 weeks, which is weird. I get
Wow.
a 2-week Trader Joe hiatus.
So this is an interesting about profits during the time of our pandemic. McCormick, the spice company, saw record profits and increased sales in the second quarter as increased demand for spices is rising because of all of the home cooking. Lindt Chocolate and Hershey's also reported increased profits. They say because everyone wants chocolate to soothe their nerves.
Interesting.
Yeah. The price of cheese reaches record heights due to increased demand during the pandemic. So the thing about the cheese I thought was super interesting is that restaurants are obviously such a big consumer of cheese. So when restaurants were closing, they had all this surplus cheese that they didn't know what to do with. So they began sort of trying to get rid of it. They started selling the cheese to foreign markets as a way to unload all this cheese, which I found sort of odd because, I mean, like I feel like everyone's suffering from this. Then in April, as restaurants began to open back up, the demand started to rise again. So between the home cooking and the restaurants reopening, there's been a huge demand on cheese, and it's driven up the price of cheese. Now, I personally, we talked a little bit about this. I'm going through this terrible cheese hoarding phase right now I buy cheese and I don't eat it, and it's just in my fridge. But I can't say I've particularly noticed a huge increase. Have you by any chance?
I haven't noticed. I think I read a thing, which might have been the article that you're reacting to, that was like foods that have gone up in price and foods that have gone down in price. And as I read through it, I was like, yes, I noticed that. No, I didn't notice that. No, I didn't notice that. And a lot of the stuff, because a lot of the stuff was also like, it went up by 10 cents or whatever. And for things that I'm brand loyal to, I don't always look at the price.
I was going to say the same thing. I thought this is like my little area where I'm like, oh, I don't look at the price of cheese. I buy what I like and I'm out the door.
There are certain items that I'm brand loyal to. In fact, there's a lot of items that I'm brand loyal to because I do my
you're
own.
very brand loyal.
I am. I do my own experiments, and then I do research from experiments from Cook's Country and America's Test Kitchen in particular, because their research is so well grounded in things that I use. And so I do tend to have a favorite and stick with it if that's an option.
You know what I like about you, Kate?
No, I'm charming.
Well, that. And that you like to shop. Like you like to be in grocery stores looking at all the items on the shelves. You, my friend Emmy, and my sister Helen all like that. You like to take your time, look through all the possibilities, new things to try. I have no patience for it.
I think for me, it started when I was a kid. I lived with my dad most of the time. And on weekends, one of the things we would often do is go to the store. And it became like a thing. We would go up and down every aisle. And I feel like there was an emotional connection to doing it that way. And also, there's a real privilege attached to going up and down the aisle and seeing something you want and throwing it in the cart. And I don't remember doing that much. I don't know what was wrong with me, but I wasn't like, I want this, I want this. I was just sort of like, well, okay, I was just following along, but I still found it fun and interesting. But yeah, and when I go to foreign countries, I love going to grocery stores in foreign countries to see how people live. What do they buy? What do they get at the store? How much do they pay for it? What kinds of things come packaged here? It's fascinating to me. I just think food is just so interesting. So, I mean, yes. And it lives in the grocery stores. So, yes, I love a grocery store. It's true.
Here are some other interesting things. I threw this in here because starting August 1st, and this podcast will be dropping August 1st, is McDonald's is going to require all customers to wear face coverings. Now, I don't particularly
Just all the time. Like if you ever go to McDonald's, you have to wear a face covering in your whole life 24/7. That's what I want it to be. That's what I hope.
This is why it's important, right? Finally, someone has the authority and the power to enforce it. But I thought, oh, this is so interesting. Like this, I sort of think of McDonald's the same way I think about Starbucks. As Starbucks goes, so goes the rest of the country. As McDonald's goes, so starts to go the rest of the country. So I feel like we may be actually reaching a place where, wait a minute, Kate, mask coverings are important and effective.
Did you just say fat coverings?
I started to say fast.
Okay.
Fat coverings would have been way funny, but also super terrible.
Yeah. And didn't Walmart or Target also do that? One of those?
Yes, Kate, you're intuiting my hot topics. Yes, Walmart is, but here's the thing. There's been numerous reports that the people that are at the front doors, they're more than willing to let people go in without a face mask. They can slide in.
So this is a fun hot topic that only has relevance to a small proportion of our listeners, and most certainly to the one listener who I'm looking at right now, which is, okay, so Utz potato chips are the best potato chips. They're an East Coast brand. We can actually get them in Chicago, but for some reason at the store that I go to, they're not in the chip aisle. They're only at end caps, like in the cheese aisle and in the produce section. Like, it's weird. I don't know what the deal is. But Utz is the best, and America's Test Kitchen just did a taste test in Cook's Country.
No.
Yeah, and their best thin cut and what's the other one? The hand cooked one. Kettle. Were both Utz for the plain chips. Yeah. Exactly.
You know, just when the world's getting a little crazy and you think there's no justice anywhere, Utz comes through, baby.
Exactly. So here is what I now have to tell you. There is an Utz chip, which is called cheddar and bacon, I believe.
Oh, okay.
And it doesn't taste like bacon, but it tastes like a bacon flavored thing, right? And Rick Fiore, there is no bacon in it. There is no meat in it.
Come on. Mm-hmm. Really?
Mm-hmm. So what I say to you is you may eat the Utz cheddar and bacon with impunity.
My jaw is on the desk.
Yes, as it should be.
That makes me so happy. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go out and get them post-haste.
Yeah. So it's also a good piece of info that anytime you see something that's bacon flavored, check the ingredients. It might not have any meat in it.
Yes. Oh, Kate, that makes me so happy. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. You're most welcome.
You're doing the Lord's work in your research.
Yep. Thank you. Hey, I had to bring something to the party since you lead the hot topics.
Kate, you like pickles, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about beer?
Well, you might know I fucking loathe beer.
Well, wait for it, Kate, for this trend sweeping the country. It's called pickles and beer. And
they're ripping off the whiskey thing, because you're supposed to do a shot of whiskey with a pickleback, which is a shot.
Oh, really?
A shot of pickle juice is called a pickleback. So you do your shot of whiskey and your shot of pickle, and then I also was a fan of pickle martinis, but pickle and beer I'm unfamiliar with. Yeah, I went through a pickle martini phase.
They're saying that you need a special kind of beer to do the pickle and beer. Do you know what kind of beer that would be?
Well, is it like a limback one that's got more citrus in it?
No, they just said cheap.
Oh. I see.
God love you. I love how seriously you took it. The question.
I did. I was like, well, maybe one with citrus. Yeah.
It says this combo is really only intended to spice up everyday beer and make it more palatable. You probably shouldn't be trying the pickled method with a small batch craft beer. So basically you get your beer, you drop your pickles in it, and then you let them stay in there for about a minute. When you drop them in, apparently it'll start foaming. And you don't want to leave it in longer than 2 minutes, or your beer will go from having notes of vinegar to being pickle flavored. I like a good beer.
You put an actual pickle in the beer? That's how it goes?
That's how it goes, Kate. Pickles and beer.
And it makes your beer taste with notes of vinegar. But you have to drink it within 1 minute.
You don't let the pickle soak for more than 2 minutes. And then you have to pull the pickle out. You'll get the flavoring, I assume.
And then you sip your vinegary beer, because that's better than beer, which I agree with. I guess putting a pickle in beer is better than not putting a pickle in beer. I would rather have a beer that had a pickle in it than a beer that didn't have a pickle in it. So I guess that's true.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Well, good to know. I'm glad we're on these things.
Get on that taste testing. Mm-hmm. Do you remember when you forced me to buy an Instapot while I was on vacation in Italy?
I do remember that.
And that was because it was Amazon Prime Day, and you're like, oh, you should do this. I was like, okay.
Right. And so you had a coupon, so it was like $30. So I'm glad I did. Yeah.
Totally. That was the best deal ever. It was the most, there was an Instapot that was literally the most purchased kitchen item last year on Amazon Prime Day. And this is important because Amazon Prime Day has been postponed. They're postponing it because of the pandemic, because mainly due to supply shortage. Prime Day has been moved to October.
When was it normally?
Usually June or July.
Oh, see.
Because I think I was in Italy in July. They haven't officially announced a specific date, but they're saying the week of October 5th is going to be the placeholder. So keep your eyes posted for that.
Yes, because apparently, I just learned this week, Instant Pot has an air fryer attachment. It has a special lid that you can put on your Instant Pot, and it turns your Instant Pot into an air fryer.
I can't take it. No, it doesn't. Does it?
Yes, you don't have to buy the whole new air fryer device. You put the lid on. But I have yet to find anyone who has one who can report back. So please, if any of you are listening and you have tried the Instant Pot lid for air frying, please let us know how that is.
As always, please rate and review us. Tell your friends about us, because word of mouth is really turning out to be the best thing that helps our podcast grow. And we know you have a lot of time on your hands, so we have 5 years worth of podcasts, 2 a month for you to catch up on.
Yes, and everybody needs a fun, light, 30 to 40 minute podcast just to get them through the week. So thank you very much for that. And also answer our questions. We expect you to respond. Thank you. That's my teacher voice. We expect you to respond to our questions.
And don't make Kate pull out her teacher voice. Thanks so much for listening. Stay safe.
Thanks. Bye.